Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Backpack Trader Trading Room for Thursday, April 22nd, 2021. All right, jumping right in. Crude is some good discussion this morning. We had our opening trade at 61.61 at 906.37. We had a get in sync initially on this earlier short. Actually, if there was a spike down, and that would have put you in it. After our start time, unfortunately, that takes a stop and reverse then to 63. And our money management is at 73. So that would have taken us to money management. Then we come back and stop out at 64 before going on and hitting targets. So that one's unfortunate. Stop and reverse and then a break even. And now we have a short at 61.69. And the calculator is still tracking the long. That makes life really interesting. So currently flat on unleaded gas, or I'm sorry, on crude. Unleaded didn't have our pre-market trade. It was actually the pre-market short was filtered out on unleaded. That on the crossover came up, hit the entry. And the entry there is right at the session high. I would have pushed that up two ticks to 99.33. It's still, and it's a pretty big trade anyway. It's 52 ticks to target one. But we get target two at, like, I believe it was 80 ticks. Let's see here. Yeah, target two was 80 ticks, so we get 78 out of it. And then we come back for a trailer at 99.87. So better 130 plus ticks for a one and done session on unleaded gas. Now, Trade Day and my chart both have a long on the pound Aussie that we are in. There are pip difference on my chart versus Trade Day, but that's nothing unusual. I've got 37. Trade Day had 38, I believe. So quick pops on the morning so far. And our stop and reverse on crude, or actually our short trade on crude has canceled with two closes above the balance line. The YM has been meandering sideways in this pre-market short since 2 o'clock this morning, 2:15 this morning. So that, based on Troy, that is a valid get in sync. But going sideways for a long time. The Russell is trending upward. With the moving averages starting to spread apart. We'll wait for a new setup there. And we have a new long setup on crude at 61.82. Not a big trade. 61.92 for money management. Targets at $95 and $62 even. And taking some heat on that, I'm going to, unfortunately, a very quick stop out. So that is our 3 trades for the 9 a.m. crude session. So 9 a.m. session is done. Unleaded is done. And the markets are open, and that short on the Russell is a valid trade. And if you had anticipated the open, you might have got caught the YM. If you didn't anticipate, it came down through 1 second after our start time and is running down. So I will count that as a untradable for our purposes in the room, and we'll look for the next trade. Soybeans. Okay, soybeans probably took the loss on the short trade right here. Yeah, you were already down here by the time that you got that. But you did have a chance to get the order in, and then before it went up and stopped out. And then you got to, if you're continuing to trade it through, you got a second full stop out. And note, soybeans is now on the July contract. And the Russell with a full stop out on the short and a new short. That short at 44.4. Same money management as we had on the earlier trade. If you anticipated that entry on the YM just a few seconds before our start time, you got a nice trade. Wow. Big drop in the open on the ES. I've got the micro ES chart up, dropping 7 full points in the first 5 minutes. Bearing out what we're seeing on the YM, the Russell dancing to a different tune, stopping and reversing back into a long at 45.3. And there's money management. Target 1 is 25, target 2 is 39. Well, actually 23 and 37 with the stop and reverse adjust. But we did just come back and stop out at 45 or 44. So target 1 for 23 if you're trading it, break even if you're trading target 2, and now another short. Noise this morning on the Russell, looks like 44.9. Hitting money management. Money management and target 1 again. Since if you're trading target 1, your stop should be 48. If not, put it at 51, at 45.1. 44.8 if you're trading target 1. That's a 20 pip target 1 there, and the prior would have been 23. That's 43. And there's target 2 on the Russell. Now the Russell following the other markets downward. And soybeans with another short. And the YM stopped out, so we will track we will continue to track, because I'm going to assume that trade was untradeable with it moving through so quickly at the open. A very volatile opening this morning. And the Russell stopped out after a target 2. Target 1 traders may need this yellow short on the Russell, 39.3, and another target 1. That should definitely get target 1 traders positive. Target 2 traders, I suspect, are going to be positive off of that prior short. And there is an SMA short on the YM. That is exactly the kind of trade that we will expect from that SMA setup. That is a diamond level setup. But a pullback to the 20 and continuing down is exactly the kind of setup that's designed for. Try to get us back into a strong move like that. Okay, target 1 and small trailer on the Russell. That should complete the day on the Russell for everybody. Pound Aussie trying to fight back up through its session open. I am testing the 20 SMA again. It's not TJ this morning, Ramesh. This is John. Tuesdays and Thursdays are my days. Troy is Monday and Wednesday. But glad to have you anyway. I'm running NinjaTrader 8 this morning, as I usually do. Or actually always do. That's the only platform that I use. And if you're trading soybeans, took a third full stop, and after two, I might have stopped. The third one, I definitely am going to stop. It's just, and of course, then after the third one, then we've got a target 2 winner there. Targets 1 and 2. So, although that actually is a fair size trade. Although it looks like must be key level adjusted. Oh, now I see what it is. It's a stop and reverse that the chaser kicked in, so it's pushed up to 2 ticks. No, wait a minute. Oh, okay. Yeah, the chaser kicked in after the old trade stopped out. And we're not in it. has not come back to the entry. That trade became valid once the prior trade stopped out because it was being filtered out by the hybrid mode, because the trend line was, the 20 SMA trend indicator was still had a downward slope, so it was keeping us out of the long reversal, long stop and reverse. So we wouldn't be in that trade anyway, unfortunately, because it didn't come in until the bar had already gone through and it hasn't come back. So, and now it's hit money management and target too, so the trade is off the table. No, there wasn't weren't any additional entry markers because it hit money management on the next bar. Okay, the long trade on the YM was filtered out by the crossover filter. So we're currently still short there. We're short, we're long on the pound Aussie. I'm assuming the Russell is done with POQ. Crude had its 3 trades and a new stop and reverse long on the YM. Looks like 902, so that adjusts to 904 on the stop and reverse. And yeah, that take that to 906 because you are dealing with a stop there. So we would key level around the 5. And so far, staying short. So there's our stop and reverse entry at the yellow line. All right, things have slowed down considerably. The long has hit its stop, so the stop and reverse does cancel, and we are still in the short on the YM. The pound Aussie is giving us zebra stripes from the 50 EMA to the session open. Things are staying a bit more stable this morning. That's good. Nothing much changing at this point. Our stop would move back up to 913 on the YM. You depending on how you work that, if you have a canceled stop and reverse, you can either move it back up or keep the exit stop at 906, whichever you choose, but do it consistently. Do we have questions this morning? We haven't really got much to keep watching. The YM and the pound Aussie until for another 10 minutes, and we'll have a new crude session. And the YM getting another new long at 01. So 03 would have been our entry, and that one did trigger in. So now we're long on the YM, and that one actually saved us a couple more ticks, right? 3 more ticks. Testing the 50 EMA. Now let's see if we can push up through that or not. I'd like to adjust the stop on the YM below the session low, but that's just too big an adjustment. It would take 7 or 8 ticks. And just kind of sideways. The YM and the Russell both trying to work up through their 50 EMAs. And at least on the pound Aussie, I've got a short now. That would be a stop and reverse. On my chart, that's going to be 7932. I don't hear any don't see Kevin typing. Well, let's see. I can't see if he's typing or not. No, not typing anything at the moment, so still hasn't triggered on mine. And the YM with a close above the 50 EMA. Trying to work its way up to money management. At 928. Target 1 is 931. And that is worth 28 ticks after our stop and reverse adjustment. So what was our loss? $879 to $903. 24, 48 ticks. That's not bad. If we can get target 1, we'll still be down 20 on 2 positions. One of the perils of Forex. Okay, still long. The low on my chart is just 32.5. So still a half a pip from our adjusted entry. And that's not too terribly surprising. Do you have a set of exhaustion dots on the upper side? So exhaustion dots for the high on the high side on TradeStation. So then I take it you haven't. Oh, wait a minute. I bet I know what it is. I have a very, very small, yeah. On the bar that my cursor is on, you'll notice that the overbought indicator is 0.243, and that is what is giving me the short trade. But I would bet that that bar didn't quite get positive on TradeStation, and that's the difference. So that's it. That's one of those very small differences in data will make the chart do some different things. Notice you can't hardly even see it on the. Let me expand that. Yeah, you can just barely see that it broke the yellow line right here. with a pink, very, very short, very small pink bar. So that's what set up the short trade on my charts, but very likely didn't show up, didn't get that overbought reading to get the short on TradeStation. And the YM has hit money management. Stop moves to 904. Actually, it's going to, and we'll, let's see, did it go higher than that? On the close, yeah, so you move the stop to 904 now. On the close of this bar, looks like we'll go to 909 or maybe possibly even higher. Yeah, there's our stop at 909. So we did hit target one for 28 ticks. And stopping out at 909, so we picked up 6, still down 14. That's if you're using the signal service, follow the service. If you're going to trade your charts, and don't worry about what the the signal service says. That's the reason that I do highlight some of those differences when we see them between the trade a day and the pound Aussie, since I'm not looking at a TradeStation chart, and that is what the trade a day is based on. And there's a short now on the YM. $8.93. That's a pretty big trade. With target one at 854. That's a 39 tick target. And pushing down toward it. Looks like we missed it and there it is. Money management and target one. So this will be a POQ trade on the YM. Setting a new session low. And that's all it takes. Flipping quickly from long to short. And going all the way to target one. So we're 23 ticks positive and still have the potential for whatever we get on the trailer now at 892. At least on my chart. And not much changing. We are into the 10 a.m. session now on crude. And it's just going sideways, oscillating around the 200 exponential moving average. YM stopped down to 380 or 881. And now down to 873. So we now have 20 ticks on the trailer. And stopping out at 871. So another 22 ticks, giving us a total of 45 on the day. And so the YM is done. We have the pound Aussie and the 10 a.m. crude session, and there's a short on the 10 a.m. crude session at 61.22. And there is quickly getting to money management. Not quite getting down to target one. So stop comes down to 21. It looks like we hit target one. I'm looking at another chart. That's one. So there is target one achieved. And our stop at 21. So that will be a POQ for the 10 a.m. session. And the pound Aussie going up and testing its session open again. Not able to penetrate through, so that keeps us in the short. Well, at least on my chart. Trade a day is still in your long, so neither have hit money management, so just in no man's land. But that's all there is the pound Aussie. And let's take a look at what the euro yen's done today. So an 8:30 start. The early trade stops out. We pick up, just barely get ticked into the short. It goes full stop. Reverses to long at the stop at 41. That goes just a few 5.5 pips. Comes back and reverses again for a nice short trade. It looks like we're currently in. That one's going to be a little harder to tell if we get to POQ or not. We'll have to run some numbers on that with multiple positions. The trailer is now down beyond target 4. So all that we have left are just the 2 currency charts. Are there any questions this morning? I am broadcasting in HD. Now, it may take a minute sometimes for it to come through and clear up. It just depends on my connection and yours. I was noticing that at times yesterday with Troy, as I would see it in 720 resolution for a period of time, and then it would clear up as my bandwidth improved. Okay, I'll be glad to do that. Anything anybody wants to look at in particular? Since we were discussing the pound Aussie earlier, here's the expanded. Here's the bar that's different. I get the overbought reading very small, like 0.243 positive, but that's enough to allow me to get the short trade. Where if TradeStation didn't get that overbought reading, then you would not have the short setup, because that overbought is required. Okay, did you want to take a look at what crude was today, Ramesh? Now, were you looking for the crude oil inventory report? Or was that yesterday, or were you looking for today's crude trades? So what we had this morning looks like crude really hasn't been very active this morning. Here is our start time at 9 o'clock. Actually, right back here. Yeah. right in between, right in this bar right here that I'm pointing to there. So we get in sync with the short, just barely triggering in. Then we come to a stop and reverse long at 63 that hits its money management at 73, and before going on and hitting target 1 comes back to 63, and our stop would have been at 64 with having hit money management. So we get a 1 tick break even off of that. We had a loss of 44 to 63, 19. So down 38 plus 2, we're down 36. And then unfortunately for our SMA, our diamond level SMA traders, we got our third trade at 61.82, and that was a 14 tick risk for a loss of another 28 ticks. So 66 tick loss on the 3 trades in that session. We didn't have any other trades until after 10 o'clock, which was the short trade at 61.22, which went to 61.06, picked up target 1 for 16 ticks, and then came back and stopped out at 21 for one more tick. So that was our one and done session for the 10 a.m. session. Gold level traders were down 36 on the 9 a.m. session. Diamond level traders using the SMA were down 66. So that 64, excuse me. So that's what happened today on crude. And of course, we have one more possible actually 2 more possible mini sessions: the 11 a.m. session and our 1:30 or 1 p.m. session, 1 to 2:30. Now, really getting a strong move down here on the Euro Yen. And the pound Aussie is still just going sideways. Depends on what chart you're using. And what your trade plan is. The basic trade plan that we use typically is the crude session is just like the old 5-tick crude session. It's just a separate session where you can take up to 6 trades. But Troy typically, I know Troy usually doesn't go quite that long. As he didn't yesterday. But the basic trade plan there is maximum of 6 trades to get positive, and typically that plan won't go beyond noon. As we do with the old 5-tick crude chart. And as crude gets back up into the 60s, the 5-tick chart may be getting big enough, start to get big enough trades it's worthwhile to look at again. I have to keep an eye on it. Actually, I guess no, the trade plan on the 377 was 5 trades max. So 5 trades or noon would be what we typically would look at. But I know Troy typically won't stay with it that long on a given day. Okay, if you're trading the 8 tick momentum or the 8-cent momentum on TradeStation, which is also what I trade, by the way, Brett, then yes, it would be 6 trades. But in that case, your next mini session is actually 11 o'clock, so you're only really looking at a half hour for the crude report. Yeah, I'll take, typically that'll be one or, and two, if you're using the 8 momentum bar and the mini session concept, you're only going to go 3 trades. Thanks for reminding me of that piece, because yes, if you're trading the 8 tick momentum, that's a mini session trade plan, which is normally on the hour. We don't trade the 9 a.m. or the 10 a.m. session on crude days. We wait for the crude report at 10:30. Start at 10:32. But typically I would go 3 trades or 11 o'clock. And once you hit 11 o'clock, then you're into the next mini session anyway. And I'll take a look back at that. I think I went ahead and ran the 11 o'clock session, and I think I got a one and done, if I remember correctly. Okay. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, there's your 11 o'clock session, and that's your 11 o'clock trade, and that was a beautiful one and done. Targets 1 and 2. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's not that I kept on going, is I just traded the 11 o'clock mini session. So at 11 o'clock, the crude oil inventory report session was done, and then I was on to the 11 a.m. session. But if you were trading the crude report from 10:30, yeah, you took this short, this long, and when you got stops reversed into this short, which ended up being a full stop out. That's your 3 trades before you even buy about 10:45. That stopped out on the 10:49 bar. So yeah, that was your 3 trades and done. So fortunately, we didn't taken this long that ends up stopping reversing in the 11 a.m. trade. But that's a whole new session at 11 a.m. because you've already had your 3 on the crude mini session. I think I was actually fairly fortunate, and this was at 13. I took this long at 16, and I think I missed that one initially. It bounced down and up, and I actually stayed in the long trade, at least picking up money management. I didn't get to target, but I picked up money management and got a small win on the trailer. In fact, it ended up going all the way to 11 to the short and stopping and reversing into the short right at the trailer. But yeah, I looked at this short and went ick because it's a really lit target. 3 was your 10 tick minimum. So, it's a really little trade. Money management's way down here. You're coming right down into the 20 SMA. I basically waited for it to test those these swing highs again before I was going to take it. And so I ended up staying in the long. Because that's such a small trade, and take you out of a good long trade for a trade that is very small and doesn't have that good odds anyway. Although, moving averages are broken all the time. But the combination of a very small trade and no real place to try to adjust that anywhere, and it happened pretty quickly. Okay, yeah, so at least you came out with a few ticks. Or you got back a few ticks of what you lost on the first. As the video that Troy used to have at the opening page of the channel, of the YouTube channel, better lucky than good sometimes. Yeah, no, that's what I did. Is I took profit on the yellow long, which the 11 o'clock short ended up, I believe, being right at the trailing stop for that crude session long. So that's exactly what I took. And then I took the short because that was an 11 a.m. session. That was the new session. Okay. Pound Aussie still going sideways, so let's take a quick look at what the Euro Yen did. Soybeans finally getting out of the back and forth, but that would have been a nasty day. Four full stop outs, a stop and reverse, and then two stop and reverses, and the sixth trade finally makes targets. So that would have been a really nasty session. I usually do, Brett. It kind of depends on what my schedule ends up being, but unless I'm strongly positive, and I'm satisfied to step back and say that's enough, or I have something that is going to keep me from staying with the session, then I normally will trade the 11 a.m. session. Let's take a quick look at what the Euro Yen has done so far. So we picked up the short and took a full loss on that. So 19 ticks. So that's 95 ticks, or 95 pips loss there. We entered at 41, stopped and reversed at 27. So that's another 14. That's another 70. Down 165. And target one, because the stop and reverse would not be 10 ticks, and money management would move down to 15. So you would get 16 times 2, 32, 55, 85 on the targets. And we're now 20. $27 to $87. We've got 40 ticks on the trailer at the moment, 40 pips. So that's 125, and we're down what 95 is 165. So we're still down 40 pips, but we're a whole lot better off than we were. Okay, guys, I'm going to have to cut. We hadn't got much to watch anyway with just the currencies. So I'm going to have to call it a morning. I've got to get on to some other projects. So unless there are other questions, I will bid you farewell for the week. We'll be back in Monday. And I think I'll be filling in for Troy this Monday again. He was planning to be out all of April, so he should be back for May. And I will throw it out. I am going to be dark on May the 11th and May the 13th, just to put in your calendars. I'm not traveling per se, but I'm going to be tied up with a rifle match locally that's going to be going on all week. So recreation time for me. Everybody have a good, wonderful day and a beautiful weekend. It looks like it's going to rain on us here this Saturday, but hopefully the rest of the weekend will be nice. Everyone have a good day.